Hey, and welcome to Matt and Jess TV. I am Matt
And
Roast.
I'm Jessica Bun Bun.
Welcome to a new Only Murders in the Building Season 5 theory discussion. And as we approach the finale, we are here to talk all about Mabel Mora.
Absolutely. And what direction she could be going in, because almost every single season,
Yeah,
it feels like the big direction she is going in is love. And there's even a little bit of that going on this season with Jay as well. But there has been a focus on her this season with Detective Williams, really encouraging her and pushing her to continue to do as much sort of investigation type work as possible. So going into this theory here, we're kind of starting to wonder, is this the direction that Mabel is going to go in? That while maybe her and her olds will
yeah.
continue to podcast, are we looking at Mabel looking at a real new career change as well, where maybe, not that she's going to go in and be a detective and be a cop and go
Yeah.
through all that, but maybe she'll open up her own sort of private investigation agency.
It's just something that makes a lot of sense because for Mabel's olds here, they have an inherent story that comes with their age, that comes with we've lived a lot of life. We're trying
Mm-hmm.
to figure out what this next act is going to be. Charles
Right.
is confronting loneliness. Like there's just a lot more built-in stuff for them
Yeah.
than somebody like Mabel. And I think that's why they continue to default to let's give her a love interest when it's just there's so much more that can be explored with Selena, with this character, and for the reasons that you've laid out. It's a fun topic to dive into.
Yeah, I mean, this whole season started with Sophia coming to the trio being like, I'd like to hire you to look into this. So,
Yeah.
I mean, they've really set it up that she could be moving into something like this because we have been seeing a lot of Detective Williams this season.
Yeah, we're going to get a lot more into that and a whole lot more in this theory discussion.
Mhm.
But before we do, be sure to hit that subscribe button because we are here for all things Only Murders in the Building, reviews, theories, previews, all sorts of good stuff. We are also gearing up this weekend for the launch of It, Welcome to Derry on HBO.
Absolutely. We are so excited about us. You can also follow us over on our Instagram,
Mhm.
which is Matt and Just TV. Thank you to everyone who has. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you guys so much.
Okay, first we want to give a shout out to one of our commenters, Kate Ritter. Thank
Yeah,
you so much for leaving this comment about the idea that Detective Williams might be the next victim on the show going into next season. You mentioned this idea that we have seen a whole bunch of her this season, way more than we ever do. It feels like we have seen more of her than we have seen of Howard. And I mean Howard, our beloved Howard. How
yeah.
have we barely seen him this season? But we have seen a lot of Detective Williams. You're absolutely right, Kate. And because of that, I think she could be the person who's going to end up dying at the end of the season. And I think that that might end up being the catalyst moving into the theory that we are talking about
Yeah.
that is going to then move Mabel into doing private investigative work.
There's just a lot of connective tissue to this idea. And yeah, it's bittersweet, the idea of Detective Williams dying, because I think
Yeah.
so many of us love this character, and
Yes.
Divine Joy Randolph is a joy, pun intended here.
She's
But
so
the good thing about being killed off on this show is you get a ton of material the next season.
Yep.
Williams is also a character where you could foreseeably see her dying in the Arconia because she's always there for one reason or another. I think she's closer friends to the trio than she would ever admit to herself.
Mhm.
She's also somebody, though, whose death would shake Mabel to a certain degree. Because if somebody like Williams goes, I don't think it's that hard to chart a course of, okay, who did this to her? It might be somebody who she busted on a case. It might be somebody she was digging into. There's all these connective tissues here to law enforcement. And even if Mabel doesn't want to go that route, she might start to think, okay, how can I help people on a grander scale beyond just doing a podcast?
Well, here's the thing. Detective Williams is extremely smart,
Yeah.
and she has always kind of course, joked around with the trio that's like, man, you guys are always like almost there, and then you guys fumble it right at the end. And if Detective Williams was there, this would be a very different show,
Mm.
and it would be figured out pretty quickly. So my tinfoil hat is
Yeah.
that she may actually, there's been this idea that there's been this big Moriarty that
Yeah.
is like the big bad of the whole show. Every season, there's somebody behind the scenes that is kind of like moving pieces around of questions that have never been answered, like who poisoned Winnie, who left the note on the door, all who's got cameras in people's apartments.
Yeah.
What if Detective Williams actually starts to figure out who that person is? And that way we get into the next season that if it's not just about Detective Williams dying, but it's about what she knew and how close she was getting to the real truth of why everybody is dying in this
Yeah.
building, then this is something that Mabel could dive really headfirst into, where she could start to move into, you know what? This person really believed in me. I'm going to start to believe in myself, and I'm going to figure out who did this to her and why.
It's just a natural segue, I think, into a few different things. It's the idea of, okay, if we ever want to actually investigate murders outside the building,
Right.
being a PI is a great way to do that. But also, if Williams goes for every reason that you're suggesting, and I know a lot of us, we've wondered about this big bad thing for a really, really long time.
Yeah.
And if you're going to use a murder of someone in the building to set up this big bad, it does kind of need to be somebody specific, whether it is somebody who's been in the building a long time and would probably know something, or somebody like Williams who's just smart,
Getting
who's
too close.
yeah, who's just been around it a long time and probably would not want to tip off the trio too early in advance, because if you're dealing with the subject this sensitive, you don't want to spook them. Like, you don't want to spook Oliver and then he starts running around screaming about it and then somebody finds out. It's like you got to approach this angle kind of carefully.
Yeah, because they have had something pretty much every season about this idea that there is a
Yeah,
bigger bad within this building, and there's been like nothing this season.
I know.
Squaw douche. It has been just a ghost town with that. So if they decide that they're going to end the season with something that big, I mean, like, oh my God.
I kind of feel like they're going to, and it's not just because there's obviously going to be questions as to whether season 6 is the last one, because
Yes.
season 6 is when, for a lot of shows, cast contracts expire, things
Mhm.
start to get more expensive. Sometimes it's after season 7, but this is typically a big end point. But I think they're looking ahead to that, and by they, I mean the writers. And I just feel like things were left so strange and confusing at the end of episode 9 that they intentionally didn't give us a lot of answers because they want to
Mhm.
deliver something really huge into the finale, but something that would also shake up these characters personally so that they kind of have to think a little bit more about their futures.
Yeah, and what's bigger than a detective that has been working with them on and off on all of these murders actually dying in the building? I mean, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, and it would also give them a little bit more of a foundation to, the thing that this show's supposed to be about, which is the podcast that they haven't
Yeah.
been able to do for most of the season.
Yes.
This one Defy deal has really tripped everything up. And even entering this finale, like, let's say hypothetically the billionaires are not actually involved in what ended up going on with Nikki and Lester. Are they still going to hamper what they're able to do with other investigations? Because if
Mhm.
that's the case, Mabel kind of does need a different outlet where she can do this under her own employ and not under the umbrella of somebody else.
Absolutely. So if she does start to do something like that, where it's like, okay, the podcast is starting to go out the window because we're not allowed to talk about the billionaires. So it's making the podcast a lot different, too much control that, yeah, her opening up her own PI business, her olds can work
Yeah.
with her on it because it's something that's more in her control. The billionaires have no control over that.
I just feel like entering both the finale and next season in general, one of the real themes of this whole show is people looking at what they want the rest of their life to look like. And that's something that Charles and Oliver have struggled a lot with. Mabel has felt lost at times, but I do sort of wonder if she's going to start thinking that, all right, my olds, I love them. I hope that they're going to continue to do this with me forever, but they may not be able to. So
Mhm.
I have to start to figure out, what do I want to do with the rest of my professional life beyond that? If something does happen to one of them, or even if I'm working with them, how can I sort of take a little bit of the burden off of them, especially Oliver's going to be with Loretta.
Yep.
Priorities are going to be shifting. Like
Yeah.
these are wheels that could very much be starting to turn.
Yeah.
I just feel like, in general, this season finale's got to be a banger. They got to set us up on a really interesting course. And if they want to do a jaw dropping, oh my God, I can't believe they did that death. They're not, I just don't think they're going to take out one of the trio at this point. So it's like, out of
No.
everybody else, is Williams one of the most notable people that they could get rid of?
Yeah, besides Williams, it's Howard. I mean, possibly a Teddy. He hasn't been around in a long time, but
Yeah.
it would be somebody that everybody knew very well that was in the building. I just feel like by the time we're getting here, going into season 6, which they haven't said is going to be the final or not yet,
Yep.
but if it's not, it needs to be somebody really big. Like losing Lester, it really sucked. But
Yeah.
let's be honest, this season has felt like it's been a lot more about losing Nikki than it's been
I
about
know.
losing Lester. Like, I feel like Lester has just gotten swept under the rug here.
Yeah.
They need, if they are going to really kill off somebody big, it needs to be Saz big. It needs to be
Yes.
somebody that really matters to the trio or to the building. And Detective Williams matters to all 3 of them.
Well, let's just turn this over to you guys now. Who do you think is going to go in the finale? And if it's Williams, do you think this will chart an interesting course for Mabel? Would you watch Mabel as a PI? Give us your thoughts, your theories, and also hit that subscribe button for more Only Murders in the Building coverage. And you can support us further by joining our Patreon. We have a link in the description there. We are covering exclusively in video form over there, Slow Horses, which is just having an awesome season. Thank you guys so much for your support, and we'll see you here next time.